They thought I was just the quiet one. The invisible sister no one took seriously. But when the boardroom door swung open and I walked in uninvited, the room went silent. I wasn't just there for a meeting. I was the majority owner, holding the power they never saw coming. My name is Madison Kwan, and this is the story of how my own family tried to sabotage my career at a reunion, only to be shocked into silence by the truth I revealed. Before we dive into the story, let me learn a bit about you. If you're a charming lady, please leave the number 1 in the comments, and if you're a dashing gentleman, leave the number 2. This way, I can send you a special greeting. Now, let's start the story together. They called me the safe one, not in admiration, more like the girl who stayed behind the camera while Derek soaked up the spotlight. It was as if I was the background noise, the quiet shadow everyone pretended not to notice while he basked in the family's attention and applause. 12 years ago, I was sleeping on a friend's futon, teaching myself code by the dim light of a cracked laptop screen. They never asked where I was, and honestly, they still don't. That's the thing about family sometimes. They see what they want to see and ignore the rest. Thanksgiving weekend, 2023. The cool autumn air of Austin, Texas, wrapped around the lakeside rental where our family gathered. String lights flickered softly, casting warm halos over tables, groaning under the weight of grilled turkey, cornbread stuffing, and pitchers of sangria. Laughter and the clinking of glasses filled the space, but I felt like an outsider in my own family's celebration. I arrived late, slipping in just as the sun was dipping behind the trees. The greetings were polite, but lukewarm. Derek, ever the golden boy, didn't miss a beat. He clapped me on the back and joked, "Still doing that contract gig, huh? Looks like someone's got a real stable job after all." His smile was wide, but the tone was edged with something sharp, a reminder that I was always the one with less, the safe choice no one truly counted on. Mom and Dad barely glanced my way, their attention glued to Derek as they praised his latest big project, completely brushing off the quiet achievements I had carved out on my own. Aunt Linda, ever the busybody, leaned in and said with a smirk, "Maybe Madison should think about something a little more stable, dear. You know, something that lasts." I smiled, the kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes. Hidden in my coat pocket was a USB drive, small, unassuming, holding the Cresford Group's updated ownership ledger. The family had no idea the power I quietly held, the truth that they had overlooked for years. A buzz on my phone interrupted the moment, a message from Grace, my trusted assistant. Board meeting moved to Monday 9 a.m. urgent. I tucked the phone away, the weight of what was coming settling in my chest. Meanwhile, Derek was boasting about an upcoming shakeup at Cresford, his voice loud enough for the whole group to hear. "Looks like some big changes are headed our way," he said, grinning with unwarranted confidence. I folded my napkin with practiced precision, each crease a silent assertion of control amid the chaos. My eyes never left Derek as I replied softly, "Yeah, things are definitely about to change." It was a promise, a warning, and the first step toward the reckoning they never saw coming. They thought I was replaceable. That was the point. For years, I had been the quiet one, the one who never demanded attention, who let others believe I was easily overlooked. I let them think I was expendable while I built my empire one careful step at a time. Years ago, I sold my second fintech tool quietly, without any fanfare or applause. It was a test, really. A way to see if I could succeed without the spotlight, without anyone's approval. That sale opened doors I never dared knock on before, but none of that mattered to my family. To them, I was still the invisible daughter. Monday morning at Cresford Group's headquarters in downtown Austin. The building gleamed with sleek glass walls that let the morning light pour in, casting long reflections across polished floors. The hum of coffee machines mingled with the low chatter of programmers tapping keys and discussing code. This was my battlefield, the world I had carved out far from the judgmental eyes of my family. Grace Moreno, my steadfast assistant, slid a stack of papers across my desk. "These just arrived," she said quietly. "Anonymous accusations, questioning your credentials. Someone's trying to shake the board's confidence." I flipped through the pages. Forged transfer statements, doctored emails, baseless rumors designed to tear down years of hard work. The audacity stunned me for only a moment before determination took over. Every lie would be met with cold, hard proof. Grace handed me a manila folder with a knowing look. "I've arranged for this dossier to be sent to every board member by midnight. They'll see the truth." Meanwhile, Derek was already at work weaving his poison. I watched from my office window as he mingled with the HR team, laughing too loudly, dropping casual remarks. "Madison's just a diversity hire," I overheard him say, a cruel smile tugging at his lips. "Good for appearances, but she's not cut out for the real demands." I clenched my fists, but my face stayed calm. This wasn't new. It was the same tired story retold in different words. They never saw me as the strategist behind Cresford's rising star. But soon, the narrative would change. On my desk, a small yellow post-it caught my eye. In Grace's neat handwriting, "Power doesn't speak. It signs." It was a reminder I had lived by. Silent strength was the most potent kind. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" Grace asked softly, breaking my reverie. I met her gaze and nodded. I've been ready for a decade. The next day wasn't just another meeting. It was the moment I would step out from behind the glass walls and claim what was mine. They planned to review me, but they forgot one important detail: who actually signs the paychecks. That fact alone gave me more power in the room than anyone suspected. Derek, of course, still thought he was in control. I could see it in the way he swaggered into the executive floor of Cresford HQ that Tuesday morning. The sun had barely risen, casting a soft light through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the polished marble and sleek steel of the building. The quiet hum of early activity was interrupted by the arrival of Derek, who came in accompanied by our parents, Helen and Thomas. They wore their smiles of confidence as if the entire company was theirs to command. Board members greeted them with polite nods, but their eyes betrayed something else. The dossier I'd prepared had already been delivered overnight. The weight of its contents hung in the air, invisible, but palpable. I watched them exchange subtle glances, their whispers hinting that the narrative was about to shift. Grace slipped into the room, quietly handing me the final ownership folio, the physical proof that no one could deny. I held it firmly in my hands, a silent reminder of the years I'd spent building my position in this very company, far away from the family drama playing out around me. Derek broke the tense silence with a joke, his voice dripping with false bravado. "Looks like it's time to clean house," he said, flashing a cocky grin. But even he couldn't mask the flicker of uncertainty beneath the surface. As the clock struck 9, I rose calmly from my seat and walked to the head of the table. No invitation, no announcement, just the quiet confidence of someone who knew her worth. I adjusted the navy blazer I wore the day I signed the acquisition papers 6 months ago, the same blazer that symbolized my silent victory. Before I could even take a breath, Gerald Pritchard, the board chair, began formally, "There are serious allegations against Ms. Kwan." But I cut in smoothly, voice steady and clear, and some serious truths you should hear. The room fell into an expectant silence, waiting for what I was about to reveal. It was more than just a rebuttal. It was the moment the story changed forever. "Rachel, this is a closed session," Derek snapped as I entered the boardroom, his voice sharp and defensive. He hadn't expected me to show up, let alone take the seat at the head of the table without an invitation. I placed my folder deliberately on the polished wood surface, the weight of its contents almost tangible. "Then you might want to reopen it," I said coolly, locking eyes with him. "I own the table." The room fell into a hush, the tension so thick you could almost cut it with a knife. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, reflecting off the gold placards that marked each seat around the table. Every eye was on me now, waiting. Gerald Pritchard, the board chair, cleared his throat and began reading aloud the accusations Derek had made against me. Claims of incompetence, forged documents, and unfit leadership. The words floated in the air, heavy with intent, but I was ready. With a nod to Grace, she began passing out the documents I'd prepared. Official records proving my majority ownership of Cresford Group, legal papers that no one could deny. I watched as the board members' expressions shifted from skepticism to surprise. Then the audio clips started playing. Derek's voice echoed through the room, caught on tape making disparaging remarks about my leadership, undermining me to the HR department, plotting behind closed doors. The smug confidence I'd seen in him just hours before began to crumble. Derek opened his mouth to defend himself, but his words faltered. "You were projecting your failures onto me," I said evenly, meeting his gaze without hesitation. "You threw shadows on my name because you couldn't stand the light I was stepping into." The boardroom was silent save for the soft hum of the speakers. Gerald turned to me, eyes searching. "Miss Kwan, what actions do you recommend we take regarding Mr. Kwan?" I took a measured sip of water, letting the moment stretch. The calm steadiness in my movements mirrored the control I held over the room. This was no longer a family squabble or a battle of wills. It was a reckoning. I looked around at the faces, the board members, my parents sitting stiffly in the back, Grace quietly observing, and replied with quiet authority. "I recommend we act in the best interest of Cresford Group and its future. That means accountability." The question hung in the air, heavy with consequence. Whatever came next, it was clear the old order had been shattered, and a new chapter was beginning. "I request immediate dismissal and formal complaints," I said firmly, my voice steady and unwavering. The room was heavy with silence, the kind that follows a verdict. Derek's smugness was gone, replaced by a desperation that only comes when the truth closes in. His eyes pleaded, searching mine for any sign of mercy. "Please," he whispered. "I was scared. You were ahead of me and I couldn't catch up." Helen's voice cracked as she stepped forward. "But we're family. You don't have to ruin his life over this." Thomas nodded in agreement, adding, "He made mistakes, sure, but ruining him completely?" I held up a folder filled with documented failures, missed deadlines, tanked projects, reckless financial moves masked by buzzwords. "No," I said calmly. "He ruined his own life the day he tried to erase mine." Later, as Derek was escorted out of the building, his head hung low, I felt no satisfaction, only a quiet affirmation. I had never truly belonged to their world, the one where appearances mattered more than actions. Driving home, the hum of the city faded as a podcast played softly through my car speakers. It was about successful female CEOs who had fought their way to the top, not by shouting the loudest, but by steady determination and unwavering focus. Grace's text buzzed through my phone. "Quiet feels earned tonight." I smiled, knowing every silent victory was built on years of unseen effort. As the city lights blurred past, I thought about the price of noise, the kind Derek thrived on, and how sometimes silence carried the heaviest weight of all. 3 months later, I received a letter. No apologies, no excuses, just a simple sentence that cut deeper than any argument. "You succeeded in spite of us." It echoed in my mind, reminding me of something I'd long believed: power signs. It doesn't speak. The loudest voices often hide the deepest weaknesses, and the quietest actions can rewrite destinies. Spring had settled over Austin, and I stood on the rooftop of a sleek downtown venue overlooking the shimmering skyline. The city lights flickered like stars fallen to earth, casting a soft glow over the gathering below. Tonight was the launch of the Cresford Mentorship Fund, a project close to my heart, dedicated to nurturing underrepresented founders, especially women of color in fintech and finance. Grace was by my side, calm and steady as ever. Around us, new mentees mingled, their faces bright with hope and determination. This was the legacy I wanted to build, not just a company, but a community. Later, in the quiet of my apartment, I sat alone with Derek's letter resting on the polished wood desk. I read his words again and again, feeling the weight of years of rivalry and regret compressed into a few lines. No requests, no justifications, just acceptance. My phone buzzed with texts from my parents, messages filled with thinly veiled hopes and awkward attempts at reconnecting. I read them, then deleted them without a word. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. I opened my journal and carefully wrote 5 words that summed up everything. This time, I built everything. The soft notes of jazz floated from the speakers as the city pulsed below. The past was behind me now, and the future stretched wide, waiting to be shaped by my own hands. Framing Derek's letter on my desk wasn't an act of forgiveness. It was a reminder, a symbol of how far I'd come, not because of them, but because I refused to be defined by their silence. As the city lights of Austin twinkle below, I'm reminded that true strength often lies in quiet resilience. Family, with all its complexities, teaches us that love isn't always loud. It's found in patience, understanding, and sometimes in knowing when to let go. If we can hold on to compassion and listen with open hearts, even the deepest wounds can begin to heal. If this story touched you, I invite you to share your thoughts or memories, because every voice matters, and every journey deserves to be heard.